at Brands Hatch. Not one rainbow, but a double rainbow. And the result of that is that the circuit is extremely slippery. The race has been adjudged to be a dry one, which means to say that if it starts to rain during the race, it will be stopped if conditions get bad enough. But at the moment, they're just about as bad as they can be for the drivers, because they are on slick, that is to say dry weather, no tread tyres. There's Martin Donnelly's car, he's in pole position, and you can see those slicks of his glistening as he picks up water from the circuit, and it is very, very greasy indeed. The other driver in the front row of the grid for this Grandstand Trophy Formula 4 2000 race for these cars with 2-litre engines is young Gary Brabham. That's the son of Sir Jack Brabham and the brother of Jeff Brabham. Sir Jack, 3 times a world champion, and Gary over from Australia serving his motor racing apprenticeship. So Donnelly from Ireland, Brabham from Australia, going to spin off on this first lap. I'm pretty confident that somebody will. Donnelly holds the line as he goes into paddock on the first lap. Gary Brabham is in second position. In third position, it's John Robinson in the grey Reynard. There are 15 Reynard cars in this race, 5 Van Diemen's, 2 Argos, 3 of the new Irish Mondials from Northern Ireland, and 1 Irish Crossley car. So Donnelly leading as he goes up to Surtees, and they're going comparatively slowly in relation to normal race speeds. And Donnelly is the lap record holder, 45.1 seconds, 96.07. And number 31, who has spun off there, is Peter Hardman's Reynard, 22-year-old Peter Hardman. So through at the end of the first lap, it's Donnelly leading, it's Robinson in second position, and up into third place has come Andy Wallace, and Andy Wallace was only in 5th position on the grid. In the white Reynard, Andy Wallace, very much the fancied man in this race, because Andy was 4th in the British Championship this year and has hopes of driving in Formula 3 next year. Now they're going down from Graham Hill Bend, and there is the leader, Martin Donnelly, and Andy Wallace is up into second position. Now the battle is well and truly joined. Gary Brabham is down into 5th place, and off has gone Mark Treadwell in his Renault, and his Reynard Nelson. Now is Andy Wallace gaining on the race leader, Martin Donnelly, and mayhem going into Surtees. Number 11 there is Jeremy Packer. Number 29 there is Alistair Lyle. And I can't see very clear. Yes, number 8 is Mark Blundell. Terrible day for Mark Blundell, because he has already failed to qualify for tomorrow's Formula 4 1600 Festival. He went out in his heat, and Mark Blundell in his first fight, and off goes Leslie Wright in his Van Diemen. Now you can see how tricky the conditions are. Now the gap between Donnelly, the leader, and Andy Wallace in second position is 3 seconds. Gary Brabham is going well. Andy Wallace seems to have slowed there, and Damon Hill, who is the son of double world champion Graham Hill, is up into 8th position, going well in his Formula 4 2000 race. He drove in Formula 4 2000 last year. So look for number 19, Damon Hill, as the leader goes out on lap 4 out of 20, coming up to the quarter distance, and Andy Wallace in second position. But at the present moment, Martin Donnelly has got things very much in control, and Andy Wallace has lost second position. He's obviously in some sort of trouble, because he's dropping back as over the line to complete another lap goes Martin Donnelly, and in second position now it's Rick Morris. Watch for number 34, the black Reynard, there it is, of veteran Rick Morris, who is 36 years old, the oldest driver in the race, but also the most experienced. There's Rick Morris, and he's obviously reveling in these wet conditions. Down to, in 4th position is John Robinson. There is Rick Morris. pulling away from Andy Wallace, and I do believe the course is starting to dry out. Now the sun is peeping through.
Yes, Murray, the line is appearing, and yet they're still taking the wider line. The trouble is when it's wet and slippery, the inside line is covered in rubber and oil, and therefore it's much more slippery when it's wet. And you can see these drivers there, Rick Morris taking an incredibly wide line round clearways. And Rick was always one of the fastest drivers in Formula Ford 1600 when it was wet, and Rick is absolutely adoring these conditions.
That is Martin Donnelly, who's been spending a lot of time racing in Europe. He's coming up and lapping Jonathan Sharp now, and he's lost it. Look at that. Now that's going to ruin his chances. He just got the line wrong there now. That's not only going to affect him psychologically, but it's very much going to affect the handling of his car.
Yes, Murray, he went to go to the left of that back marker there. You can see the back marker in the background. He moved over. Martin obviously thought the back marker was going to keep to the right. He went to the left, and the back marker moved straight into his line. So now his handling is going to be astray. He's probably glad the conditions are slippery. He might be able to get away with it.
And meantime, Rick Morris is closing up on Martin Donnelly. Hand over fist. Number 34, Rick Morris. Look for the black Reynard with the white number 34 on the front. Martin Donnelly is trying not to be rattled, but there is Rick Morris behind him. This is lap 8, and we're soon, I think, going to see 36-year-old Rick Morris from Hartford, a man who's been driving for 11 years, who has finished third in the Formula Ford Festival 3 times in his long and distinguished Formula Ford career, take the lead from Martin Donnelly. But hats off to Donnelly. My goodness, he's driving superbly under the most trying conditions, and he's about to lose the lead. Look at his right front. The nose of the car is dragging on his right front tyre and through into clearways, and taking the lead on lap 9 goes Rick Morris, runs very wide indeed. Martin Donnelly momentarily retakes the lead and is back there as he goes into Druids, the slowest corner on the race. How will this be affecting the handling of the car?
Well, of course, Murray's got very little downforce on the front, but more worrying at the moment is the fact that he's rubbing on that front tyre. If he could actually get rid of his damaged nose cone, he might be better off. And the fact that the conditions aren't perfectly dry means that the handling is much more down to the driver and the greasy conditions. Now the nose has gone, Murray. Now he'll be much happier, and if he can adapt his driving style to the understeering car, he can maybe hold on.
And you can now see what the front of a racing car, Formula Ford 2000, looks like. Still in third position in the white Reynard. There he goes, Andy Wallace. Tight up behind Wallace. Gary Brabham, tight up behind Gary Brabham. Bertrand Farby, the Canadian, in 5th position. Then John Robinson. Down to Graham Hill Bend, 3rd gear, 100 miles an hour plus, even in these slippery conditions. Morris and Morris. Well, I take my hat off to 20-year-old Martin Donnelly, who is only in his first full year of racing Formula Ford 2000s. 3rd in the European Championship this year, 5th in the British Championship, lap record here, holder here at Brands Hatch on the short Indy circuit. And he's lapping a tail-ender now as he comes up to Druids on this, the 13th lap. And still Rick Morris is behind him 2nd. Still Andy Wallace is behind him 3rd.
Well, Murray, here, as long as Martin can get into the corners ahead of his opposition, he seems to be all right. Paddock Bend, of course, the fastest corner where the downforce of the nose will be effective most. He's slow through the corner. And yet, as long as he can get into the corners, that's his biggest problem, turning the car into the corner because there's no downforce on the front. But as long as he gets into that corner first, he seems to be able to hold his position.
This seems to be a good argument, Tiff, for saving weight by not having a nose cone.
Yeah, I don't think Martin would appreciate that idea right now. Here you see he can, as long as he gets into the corner, he's actually slow at this point, and yet he's held off the people from behind.
And look at the 4th position man. Gary Brabham is closing up. Gary Brabham that is number 22. There he is in 4th place, is right up with Andy Wallace. And behind Gary Brabham in 5th place, the Canadian Bertrand Farby, and it touches. Farby there touches Gary Brabham's car. The 24-year-old Canadian from Sherbrooke near Montreal is going through, and he does it. and he fairly whistles past Gary Brabham and up into 4th place in the process. This is Farby's first race in Britain. Now, here is Farby trying on a replay to pass Brabham. The right front of Farby's car, the right front wheel, hits the left rear of Gary Brabham's Reynard, deflects the Australian's car. Just a few moments later, Farby went through and took that 4th position, and he's still there. And Gary Brabham has pulled into the pits his Grandstand Trophy Formula Ford 2000 race, the first round out of 5 in the series, which goes right up to the beginning of December, has been run for Gary Brabham. Lap 16 now. Martin Donnelly still leading in the Reynard, despite that missing nose cone. Then, and look at this, as they go over the line, it's Robinson up there with Rick Morris. Rick Morris is dropping down through the field. There is Andy Wallace in the white Reynard, chasing Donnelly as the Irishman goes into Druids, very tight indeed, leading on lap 17. Number 34, Rick Morris, is now in 3rd position, and Robinson, number 77, in the grey car behind Dennis McGall. Number 7, who they're both lapping, is pushing Rick Morris very hard indeed for that 3rd position. Irishman leading. In 2nd position, the Englishman, Andy Wallace. In 3rd position, Englishman, Rick Morris. In 4th position, yet another, and then Gary Brabham. This is a replay of Farby, Bertrand Farby and Will Pringle, and Farby carving his way through the field, and that's it at Paddock Bend, and Farby trying much too hard, spins off. Will Pringle's car is badly damaged, nose cone missing, right rear wheel damaged, and the half shaft too. So Farby out of the race, and now on lap 18. This is our constant reference point. The battle between number 24, Martin Donnelly, the Irishman, who crosses the line to complete lap 18, start his 19th and last lap but 1, followed very closely indeed by number 114, Andy Wallace. In 3rd position now, it's Rick Morris, the man who momentarily led the race. In 4th position, it's John Robinson. In 5th position now, it's Anthony Reid in the Argo, and in 6th place, Graham DeZille, who is, like many of the drivers, in fact most of them, in a Reynard. There are the leaders. And it looks to me as though Donnelly's going to hold the position to the end of the race.
Yes, Murray, he's doing an absolutely fantastic job. Andy Wallace, though, is closer now than ever before. The corner ahead of them now, Donnelly's bogey corner, paddock corner. He can't get round it as quick as Andy Wallace without that nose cone, and he has to make sure he holds off Wallace, under braking now for paddock corner.
And Rick Morris and John Robinson are not so far behind. There is Rick Morris, there is John Robinson. 3rd and 4th, we are now on the last lap, up to Druids. Donnelly leads. Wallace knows that this is the last lap. So does Rick Morris. So does John Robinson. And the 4 of them plunge down Graham Hill virtually together into the Cooper Straight, up to Surtees for the last time. 3rd gear, 105 miles an hour. They're coming up to a tail ender. This could change the complexion of the race. The tail ender is Harry Minty, who is passed first of all by Donnelly, then by Wallace. They're into the last corner now. Rick Morris is behind them. John Robinson is still in 4th position. They're coming into the top straight for the 20th and last time, and it looks as though the first round of the Grandstand Trophy Series is going to be won by number 24, Martin Donnelly from Belfast. Although he lives now in Norfolk, he's just beaten Andy Wallace down into 2nd place. In 3rd position, Rick Morris in his Reynard, so it's Reynard's 1st, 2nd and 3rd. In 4th position, in yet another Reynard, John Robinson. In 5th position, Anthony Reid in the Argo, and 6th, Graham DeZille in yet another Reynard, after a truly exciting and really memorable Grandstand Trophy.